Hi, this is Dirk with Remodel AI, and I'm here with another user request. And this user looks like they're redoing this room. I don't know if they're painting. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but basically they want to explore adding, looks like some crown molding, playing with window trim and window trim color. So I'm going to show you how to go about doing some of those things. So let me switch over to the app. Again, I'm on an iPad here, so yours may look a little bit different on your phone, but it's the same. And I'm going to load your image, which I believe I stored on my Google Drive. Yep, there it is. So, a couple different operations that you can do. Probably the two tools I would use for this mostly are replace and reskin. So let's do the window trim first. There's a couple different ways. Actually, you could use paint, and you could literally just apply a specific paint color. And the way you would go about doing that is well, we don't want to paint the whole window, I guess. So you would actually say, you would mask out exactly what you want to paint as accurately as you can, because it's literally going to apply paint to anything. And obviously we don't want to paint the windows. So you could go about doing it that way. So if we just wanted to manually pick a actual paint color, that's how you go about doing it, just like this. And then we would say, let's pick the other window, and then maybe subtract the actual windows. See if that works. So you could do it this way. Oops. And I would work and clean this up a little bit so that you have this accurate. Oops, that's too big. Let me undo that brush stroke. I would take the time to get this as accurate as possible. So that's one way to go about doing it. Let me just show you. Let me pick just a bare black and show you how that process would work with painting it manually. And again, this is the AI's estimation of what bare black would look like. And of course, black is not really black. It's dark, but this would probably be what black would look like. And you can see I didn't get the mask perfect, but that gives you a good idea of what it might look like. I don't really think it works with this wall color, but you might be repainting it. So I'll go ahead and accept that. But actually, I'm going to go back to the original one, and I'm going to show you the other way to do it is with the reskin option. At the reskin option, you can just basically say, I want to change this area. You do not need to have an exact mask. You just say, I want to change the, I want to reskin everything under this mask. So I'm going to cover all the, and I'm going to do it quick and dirty just to show you don't need to be accurate. Like you could go in and clean this up, as much as you want, but you just need to make sure you cover all the things you want to reskin. And then instead of picking a specific paint color, you could say something like dark window trim. You're giving it guidance of what you want the look to look like, and it will basically keep the same existing 3D structure, the same trim, but recolor it or retexture it. Basically, you're applying a new skin. And this is allowing the AI to choose its own color from, dark. That's the only guidance we really gave it. So you can play with a couple different things here. One is the mask and the other is the prompt. And so you can see that's a much darker color. That one is a wood one. That one's, also wood. So, it's going to be a lot more creative. You can control exactly how close it matches the existing 3D structure by going in the settings here and changing the fidelity. So let's turn that up because we want it to match the existing trim very closely. And then let's try it again. So again, you can experiment as many times as you like. Just keep hitting generate. With the reskin tool, you're going to get a different result every single time. And it's going to be something different that matches as best as the AI can this description that you gave it. I don't really love that. Looks weird, to be honest. I don't love that look. I don't know why it's going for that look. I like the previous ones better. The other important thing about this tool is you want to make sure the mask covers everything, because if you don't cover a little tiny corner, it will see, oh, well, the existing trim is white, and I'm not allowed to change that pixel, and it will stick with the current color because it's not allowed to change that pixel. So if you miss an area when you're masking, you may get some weird results. So just make sure the mask covers everything. And I think it did an okay job here. I might have missed a little pixel here. Um, but that's okay looking. I kind of like that one. Um, let's see the before and after. Yeah, dark wood essentially. Um, and the other thing you asked for, I believe, was crown molding. So I would use the replace tool. There is no crown molding. You can't recolor it. So you're going to use the replace tool and replace the area of the photo. I'm going to use the brush instead of the object tool. And I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm going to replace the area where crown molding would be and see if we can get the AI to add some crown molding. Crown molding. You could say crown molding in a room, crown molding on the ceiling. You could get more descriptive. That's part of the two variables again are the mask, the area you're replacing, and then the guidance that you're giving it. You could even give it a style image of specific crown molding if you want. Um, that might be a little tough. You need to get a kind of a closer up. And it's taking a guess. That one's kind of a bigger one. That one kind of messed up the light. Um, and that one looks okay, even though the colors are kind of different. What you could do is actually just get rid of the light too, because the light is messing everything up. That might make it a little bit better. Now I'm going to try that again. I'm just going to try the same prompt. And that looks better to me because it's matching this. I don't know if that was the color you're going for, but I kind of like it because it took the style from the window. And so I'm going to apply that same thing. I think that one the best. The lighting's probably the best on that one. And then let me just show you a quick other thing you could do while you're here, because you can use AI to kind of finish this room, so to speak. You could just go in here and say, you know what, I haven't finished this room, but I'm going to replace this unpainted area and let it finish your work. I'm not even going to give guidance. I'm just going to say, you suggest what the rest of the room looks like. Now, it's not going to be able to see the floor, so it might not get the floor exactly the right level, but it will probably be able to tell, because the distance between the floors and windows is usually pretty standard. Not always, obviously, but I guess it added room. We could say something like empty room. It's also going to replace the floor because it can't see the floor. But there's something we could do to fix that. We could basically unmask an area in the floor so it could see the floor. But let's just see what it does with this. I guess when I didn't give him guidance, it's going to add furniture and stuff. Well, the floor is way off. So maybe I do need to go back and say, you know what, let me show you where the floor is. That might be enough to just kind of show it where the floor is. Empty room, generate. Well, it kind of messed that up, didn't it? I have another idea. I know what we can do. It's not understanding where the floor is, so we can instead remove all this crap, the chairs and stuff, and then we can use reskin to finish the room. Yeah, because it's really not understanding the scale of these windows because it. Let's try this. Let's go back and I'm going to do another replace and I'm going to just get rid of this stuff. So clean up the room. I'm not going to give it any guidance. I'm just going to say, give me whatever you suggest. And that's fine, and that's fine, that's fine. Let's go with this one. That one probably looks the best. And again, you can hit generate as many times you like here. You don't need to just take the first result like I am. So now we have an empty room without the chair and stuff. And then you can go in and say, well, I want to reskin. The reason I'm using reskin is because we want it to keep the floor where it is. We don't want it to change the floor. So replace basically the whole bottom half of this room, but it's going to try to match the existing area. I'm just going to hit generate again. So it's going to try to match this depth map of the current room. And I could again give it some guidance, say empty room, but that's not necessary because I'm reskinning the room, not replacing. Oh, and it kind of kept your bottom molding, which actually I kind of like. But you could play around with, reducing the fidelity to say, well, maybe you don't want that. Maybe you just want empty walls, empty room. And again, this is all about experimenting, trying different things to see what the AI comes up with. And, if you like it, you can dive further down that area, or you can go back and change different variables to try to get some different effect. And I know this isn't something you requested specifically. I was just showing you some different options that you can play with. Um, that's kind of closer to what we wanted, but I would go back. I would probably accept this and then go back one more time and say, let me reskin it again because I don't know what these random marks on the wall is. So it wasn't the perfect result, but it did get some of the area right. So basically what I did is I just accepted the result and then went back and gave it a smaller mask saying, okay, well, you got some of the area right. Now let's do the rest. And maybe you were going for two different textures where you have a base texture and then the upper paint, in which case you would have gone with one of those previous images. That probably makes the most sense because the baseboards match the trim that we gave it earlier. So it's kind of, AI is somewhat intelligent and said, well, you're probably going to have matching baseboard and crown molding and trim and stuff. So anyway, all I did there was use basically two tools, reskin and replace. And again, replaces anything in an area of an image with something else entirely, and then reskin will try to keep the existing 3D structure. And from there, you could do all sorts of, you could say, I want to explore complete remodels, and of course it will keep the existing structure. So you'll have basically an empty room still, but it will change everything all over again and give you completely new ideas if you're open to starting from scratch. So I would guess minimalist, it's going to suggest probably wood floors and very neat trim. Might even get rid of the crown molding stuff. Yeah, it kept it a little bit. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this one got rid of the crown molding. So anyway, there's just a couple ideas. You can play with these tools and just keep repeating things over and over again. I do love that lighting, but so let me just review real quick. We started with this and we did a reskin operation to change the trim, and then we did a replace operation. We got rid of the light and we added crown molding, and then we did a replace operation to clean up this chair and other stuff, which again you could do that physically, before taking the picture. But if you haven't done it, you can always just do it with AI. And then I did a reskin operation, which was okay. It kind of colored the wall, but it messed up. I don't know what these lines are, like a horror movie or something. So then I did another replace, and then we got a nice clean room, and that's kind of what we were going for. And then I was just playing around with the remodel. So again, combining the different tools, we did a remove, replace, and a full remodel. Hopefully that helps you explore different options. And if you have any further questions, let me know. Thank you.